All right. Hey, it is a couple of weeks for deer season. I mean, what's the date today, Yabi? 13th? 12th, 13th? What's the date today, Jacob?
I don't know.
We don't know. It's about the 12th or 13th.
12th.
It's the 12th. Deer season's on the 26th, end of this month, so we got a couple weeks. Fixing to go out here, check out the spot. But let me ask you this. What's a trophy to you, Yabi? What's a trophy to you?
To me, 6 point.
6 point? What's a trophy to you, Jacob?
Deer?
A deer. Your answer's not wrong, Bob, but a deer is a good trophy. Any deer. Actually, any deer you kill is a trophy. It could be the horns. It could be meat in the freezer. Yeah, that's a trophy. I mean, you getting meat in the freezer, that's a trophy, because you really enjoy that trophy. Also, it could be just the deer hide, and this is where I'm going at with this. Years ago, I mean, when I first started hunting, about 20 years ago, I wanted to mount some deer, and so what I did is I learned how to do taxidermy, and so I mounted my own deer. I didn't want to have to pay somebody to do it. I figured, heck, I can learn how to do it. But here's the thing, I mean, taxidermy, when you get a deer mounted, I mean, a daggum shoulder mount, how much do you think a shoulder mount costs?
A couple hundred.
How much do you think it costs, Jacob? It could be a couple hundred. Cheap. But, at least $300. It could be up higher than that. So, say, Jacob, you shoot a doe this year. Are we going to mount that doe head?
I don't know.
I don't know. Would you mount the doe head? Some people do. There's nothing wrong with it. I would.
Especially if it was my first deer.
Yeah, I would. But the problem is just to get a doe head mounted, the cost. And so you didn't have the money. Same money's tight. So here is where I'm going at with all this conversation is brain tanning, doing it on your own. And I done a couple of years ago, I did a series on brain tanning, on how to brain tan your own deer hide, where it doesn't cost you anything but your time. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show y'all how we did a brain tan on Savannah's deer. She shot a little doe, and I wasn't going to mount the doe head, and she didn't want a doe head mounted, but she wanted the hide, and so we did a brain tan on it, and it turned out really good. So I mean, you can hang it on the back of a chair, on the wall, put it on your bed, on the couch, whatever. But it's still a trophy. So that's what we're going to do. So while we're going down here checking out this spot, this is from a few years back, and it's broke up into 3 segments, but I shoved it all together for y'all, and how we did a brain tan on Savannah's first deer, which was a doe, which is a trophy. So, Jake, you going to do a brain tan on your deer this year?
Sure.
Okay. Yabi?
Sure.
There we go. Look how I convinced him into doing it. All right. Y'all check that out. We're going to check this out down there, and y'all stick with us. All right. What am I doing here with this old deer hide? Remember I told you a couple weeks ago, Savannah's doe that she shot earlier in the year during gun season on that antlers deer weekend, and she shot this doe. So we're gonna do what I told you earlier, we're gonna do a brain tan on this. But this show here, we're gonna show you how to flesh a deer hide, good old redneck way. Now, back in the old days, back in the old pioneer days, and back in when you see Indians and all that, they used to stake this hide down to the ground, or they'd stake it up on a frame and they would flesh it that way. But we're going to do a little bit different. This is how a lot of taxidermists will do it. A lot of taxidermists use a machine and all that to do it, but the way I'm going to do it is, this is a fleshing beam, what we got here. And basically, Ollie has made this. It almost looks like an ironing board. And I almost want to say you probably could use an ironing board as a fleshing beam. That would be a good idea. And the unique thing about this is it's rounded. You don't want any corners that are like on this sawhorse where it's cornered, because then that would make it hard to flesh it, because you can cut a hole in it real easy. So this is rounded and it's smooth, and you want it smooth. And this is tapered down and it's rounded. So when you're working on, like if you're doing a deer shoulder mount, you can use this area right here for the face and the nose and all that, getting all the fat and the meat that's off of the inside of the hide. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use this fleshing beam right here, and you can tell I already started on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this meat and all the fatty tissue off of it. Now you got to be careful. You don't want to get too thin on this. You'll cut a hole in it, especially if you got a really sharp knife, and this one here is fairly sharp. So you got to be careful. And another thing, I don't want to rush through this, but when you're doing this, you don't just want to lay this thing up here, and I'm going to use the back of the knife so I don't cut anything, and just start doing this. It's got to have some tension on it, and it's got to be really tight so that the skin doesn't give, the hide doesn't give, and you don't cut a hole in it. That's the thing that you don't want to do. You just don't want to cut a hole in it. So if you take your time, and you may cut a hole or two. Hey, there's some sewing thread, sew that joker up, or just leave it. It's a good way to practice. So just take your time with this and work your way through it. So I'm going to show you. We're just going to sit there and grip this and get it tight, so it's tight right here. We're not going to work down here. We're going to work up in this area right here. So, and you just kind of hold the knife almost like you're just shaving, and that's basically what you're doing. You're not cutting like this with the knife down into it. You're cutting like this, all right? And just kind of work it. You can see all that fat that's coming off, and you just want to work it like that. And I would say, if you're good, in a couple hours you'll get it done. And then after we get this fleshed out, we're going to wash it, and you can wash it in just regular Dawn detergent, because it's like an antibacterial detergent. You're going to wash the thing in it, wash the hide in it, get it good and clean, dry it out, and then we're going to roll it back up. When we roll it back up, I'm going to roll it up with the hair inside, let the flesh be on the outside. And then we'll throw it back in the freezer, and then we'll do the next step. But right now, we got to get all this junk off, all this fat. Ollie's got some stew to make, and we've got to go ahead and get the fat for the stew. All right. All right, look, I got a few holes there, I know, but it's Savannah's deer, and what's she gonna do?
She ain't paying.
She ain't paying for it, it's for free. For free! But hey, look, what we're gonna do here after we're pretty much done, I gotta go along the edges here and get the meat off the edges here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna wash this thing. We're gonna wash it in some Dawn detergent and antibacterial detergent, some dish soap, and wash it, and then we're gonna freeze it. And we're just gonna roll her up, throw it in the bags and freeze it, and try to get it as airtight as possible. And I prefer to double bag it, and we'll chunk it in the freezer. But we'll get that, and then next week what we'll do is we'll do the brain tan. We'll show you how we're going to do that, and that's going to be pretty exciting. If you got a weak stomach, close your eyes. It's still going to be good. All right, let's get back to Savannah's deer hide. Last week we fleshed that joker, and this week I got Ollie building a frame. We're going to stretch it out, and we're going to start doing the brain tan.
Hey folks, as we do this, you want to make sure you're stretching the hide evenly. You don't want a big long skinny doe or short fat doe, so you want to try to evenly stretch it and be symmetric. You don't want the tail off to this corner and the head off to that corner either. So it's a little bit kind of plan this out a little bit so you know exactly where everything's going to lay. A lot of times you can put marks on here if you're super serious about it, so you'll know where the cape's going to lay at. But we're going to start on one side, work our way around, stretch it as best we can. Alright folks, as you can see, we got it stretched out. It's like a drum. And as it dries, it'll tighten up even more. So you see there's a few holes here. I don't know what Chuck was doing. Has eyes closed on this section. Did good on that half. This side got a little chopped up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a needle and thread, just regular sewing thread or dental floss or something. Either going to just loop stitch it or just do a basic baseball stitch where you just zigzag. Pull it up tight and tie it off. So we'll sew these holes up and then we'll be ready to boil some brains. Alright y'all, we got one hole left that Chuck cut in here. It's a pretty serious hole. The key to sewing this up where it looks smooth is you want your hole to be in the shape of a football. So if it's a perfectly round hole and you sew it up, it'll end up bunching up. So you're better off trimming it. If it's a circle, trim it so it looks like a football. And then what you do is you take your needle and thread and start at one end, stick it through the hide, tie a knot. Just a basic knot. And then what you'll do is you'll just work your way up the hide, zigging and zagging. About every third one, what I do is it makes a gap right here. And if you'll go through that gap, gotta go around the nails, through the gap and back through it, back into the hide, what that'll cause it to do, it forms a kind of a knot. And see, it tightens up and it don't loosen up. So you want to do that every few times. And that way you won't have to be trying to pull the whole thing tight from the end. And we'll just continue working it, zigzagging back and forth. I'm not sure what this stitch is called. This will increase the way it looks, you know, the quality of it if you sew these holes up before you tan. How's the brains coming?
They're not.
Oh.
I haven't even started them. I would say leave the holes and just say she shot it with, you know.
A machete. Freddy Cougar killed it.
Looks good.
So
good.
see, we're right there. Now at the end, what we'll do is we'll just make a loop. I'll take that loop and I'll just loop the thread around it 2 or 3 times. And pull it tight. And then we'll trim off the excess. Right
Nice.
there.
Good job.
Yeah, turned out pretty well.
Sweet.
The key is what it looked like on the other side.
It's Savannah's.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the brain from a deer. And usually what's so neat about it, you know, and I always wonder, how did they come about this? How did the Indians and the pioneer folks figured out that brain was used to tan the hide? I just think it's unique. But anyhow, it's the oils and all that help preserve it. And so usually, you know, one brain is good for one hide, and the animal itself, its brain is good for its hide. So that's what we're going to use here. So we're taking the brain and we're going to cook it somewhat, and basically we're going to mash it up and warm it up and get it to where it's kind of like a soup, kind of like a And I know this all sounds gross, and I'm sorry. And I told y'all at the beginning of the show, get breakfast going, because I'm cooking some cream of brain. No. But you mash it up like it's kind of like a old cream of mushroom soup or something like that. So we just put it on this burner, and we got the heat down a little bit. And but we'll go ahead and get this step out of the way. And then once we, it looks good, don't it? We'll get this step out of the way, and then we'll apply it to the hide. What we got here is and I may add a little water to make sure we can get it all the way. So I'm looking at this, and I know you got to add a little bit of water to it, and actually the larger capes you'll add up to a gallon. So. But just to give you a quick what it's supposed to look like, and really it's supposed to look kind of like cream of mushroom soup. So I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to take the camera off the tripod here. And there we go. So we'll probably add a little bit of water to it, let it set up for just a little bit, and then we'll put it on the hide, and we'll just basically just paint it on the whole hide. All right, y'all, so we're about done throwing the brain on this hide, and we're going to see if we can dry it out. And so we'll be working on this weekend. And like I said, it may take a little while for it to dry out because it is going to be kind of a week of wet weather. So, all right, y'all, hey, we're over here at Ollie's, and we're working on this deer hide again. We're actually working it now, and we're trying to do it as primitive as we can, aren't we, Ollie?
Yes, we are.
What you doing there?
Looking for a deer.
A game?
It's a game. It's actually the wheel game you came around.
Okay, he's actually looking at pictures. Game trail pictures, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's what he's doing. While he's doing that, I'm working. As you can see, I've got a little sweat on my brow.
That's how it ought to be.
Yeah, that's how it ought to be. I should be sweating. I need to sweat. Drop a few pounds. I'm getting tired of these fat jokes Ollie keeps getting me with. But anyhow, like I said, what we're doing is we're going as primitive as we can. I mean, we're brain tanning. There's no chemicals on this at all except for the brain from the deer. And we're using it to work this hide. We're using a piece of flint that Ollie has found. Where'd you find this at?
West Texas.
West Texas. And what's so neat about it is the way it fits in your hand. It makes you want to think that this thing was it was definitely worked. It was definitely worked to make it look like that. And maybe some Indian chief had this because it fits my hand pretty good like an Indian chief.
I think an Indian squaw.
It's a little bit too big for your hands, but it fits my hand pretty good. And he probably worked these old deer hides just like what we're doing now. See, this is the one I would use, big old piece. This is the one Ollie would use, a little bitty piece. This is Ollie. He can only handle a little bit at a time. Me, big rock, little rock. Anyhow, we're working on it. We got about almost 3/4 of it done. And after we do all this, after we scrape this thing and work it, we're going to take it and probably just trim it all the way around, and then we'll probably try to work it a little bit on the back of a chair or something like that, get a little bit more where it's more leather-like, where it could be a little bit more pliable, and then we're going to smoke it. And when we smoke this thing, you don't want to cook it. You want to cold smoke it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build a firebox, all right, and we're going to pipe the smoke into another box where this will be at, and we'll smoke it for a couple hours. And like I said, what the smoking does, it helps keep the pests out, the bugs and all that, and plus it's just
a good smell.
It's a good smell, you know. I need some good old campfire cologne. I'm waiting for them to make it. Campfire cologne. That'd be cool, wouldn't it, Jacob? Yeah. So anyhow, y'all stick with us. We'll probably we'll just on today's show we're just going to work it, and then next week's show we will build the firebox. I know we're dragging it out, but we're going to build the firebox and the smoking box, and we'll smoke this joker down. So, and then we'll give it to Savannah and say, don't ever let us do this again. All right, y'all stick with us. Like his shirt.
I see that. Oh,
This is my favorite shirt.
I see that.
I don't ever want to get rid of it.
It's about gone.
No, we're gonna sell it up. I
That's
got,
unsellable.
I got,
The collar,
yeah.
there's no color left on it.
I love this shirt.
It's like a homeless guy.
So what we're doing is we're scraping it, and you can tell we're getting the red tint out, and we're getting this white look here. All right. As you can tell where Ollie's been. I got to go back and
You got the tool
well.
that I found
So what? It was meant for me. This was meant for
for a squaw, like I said.
Indian, big white Indian chief. I hope you like it, Jacob, because we're gonna shoot a bobcat, and well, we got the bobcat. We're gonna do the bobcat, coyote, and all that. And next year's school clothes that you're gonna wear to school, we're going completely off the grid, son. You're wearing leather and furs to school. Jacob Jeremiah Johnson, Junior Mountain Man. I mean, the inside definitely has that leather feel,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, like, I don't know if we could take it over a chair
I
or,
think it needs to be a chair.
yeah, a back of a chair to do this. Take it over a wooden back of a chair and we just kind of work it over it. But yeah, I mean, if anything, yeah, I'm proud of that. Once we smoke it and help preserve it just a little bit more, it'll keep the bugs out and we'll be doing good, won't we, buddy? All right, y'all. Hey, we're finally on the last stage of messing with this old deer hide. We brain tanned it, and we're gonna work it a little bit, and then we're gonna smoke it. What I mean by working it, we're gonna try to loosen it up a little bit, loosen the fibers up. Because right now, I mean, it's pretty nice, but it has the consistency of a tarp. And I'm not gonna go much past that. I do wanna loosen it up a little bit more. And because Savannah will probably just hang it on her wall. She mentioned about throwing it on top of her bed or something. I don't know, whatever she wants to do with it. But, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time working on it. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can do it on the back of a wooden chair. And basically, like if this 2x4 represents a wooden chair, you would work it like that. But because this thing is so big, you know, it's hard for one guy to do it on a chair. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go out here on a 6x6 post that's in the ground where Ollie parks his boat, and I'm just going to work it on there a little bit, And like I said, it's about right where I want it, but I'm going to try to soften it up just a little bit more. And we're working on that post, and then we will we'll smoke it and give it to Savannah and tell her no more. Too much work. No, really, it is a lot of work. And to think about back in the day, the pioneers and the Indians and all them folks, this is what they did if they, they wanted to do this. If they needed clothes, so they wore leather and stuff like that. This is how they did it. So, but we're, like I said, we're not going to work it to where it's so pliable like this shirt, where it's like a good piece of leather, but it's going to still be pretty cool. So y'all stick with us. All right, we worked her, and like I said, I'm happy just about where it's at. I mean, that tarp feeling is fine with me. Actually, like I said, we're going to hang it on the wall. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to kind of brush it out, get any kind of loose hairs from where I was grabbing it, get it off of there. And then, also, those that didn't come out in the wash, you'll have a couple of dead ticks in there. You just kind of get those off, and they'll just come right out. Using a little wire brush, and just gently just run it across it, get it off of there, brush her out. And you can see one spot where I was getting on it, and this is thin, and even where around the sides of the legs and the brisket is thin, and it did rip it right there about 4 inches, a little rip, but that's fine. We'll just leave it. Savannah deal with it, but it's still, like I said, and this is, in Savannah's eyes, this is the trophy, and in my eyes, it's a trophy. It's her first deer, so it is definitely a blessing. And see, that's so thin right there. You can see right through it just about. So this is it. This is it. All we got to do now is smoke it and give it to Savannah. She can do with it whatever she wants. But it looks good. Looks real good. All right, y'all. We're out here at the smoker, and like I mentioned before, we don't want to cook it. We're going to cold smoke it. So I'm not going to put it in here to smoke it. I actually got a cold smoke box in the back behind this, and let me show this to you real quick. All right, what I got here is basically an old barbecue grill. All right, and this is going to be my fire box. This is where the heat's going to be. And then what I did is I took the old barbecue grill and put an old vent hose on it, and smoke would go off into this bigger box that I have behind it that I built, so that the heat won't get in there and it won't cook that hide. But the thing is, when you're when you're doing this, when you're smoking, you don't want to use pines or like Leland firs or evergreen type trees like this. A lot of sap in it, and what happens is that sap goes in there, and all that tar will get in the smoke, and then it gets up in the deer hide and basically will ruin it. So what you want to do is you want to use hardwoods, oaks and stuff like that. And if you have some old rotten wood, because it'll smoke good, and I do have a little bit, and it's kind of dry, so I'm putting some water in it, and heck, even some good old wood chips. Just get the fire going. Don't have to be that big. You just need the smoke, and then you'll feed the smoke into the box. going to give that deer hide about 2 hours in that smoker. And in the meantime, Dakota's going to show me how bad I am at baseball. Man, I stink. Alright, now we're playing a game this old redneck can compete in. Good old game of horseshoes.
God help us! There you go.
I think we definitely need to back that page.
This game was a point.
Alright, this hide's been in here for about 2 hours now, and Savannah's on the other side. Savannah, let's go ahead and open it up. Squeeze it and lift that latch up. Okay. The door's over there, but there's not a whole lot of room for the camera. So we're gonna come out here. There it is, definitely. Oh yeah, it's yellowed it up. Nice. Let's come over here, Savannah. Now I had it crinkled in there, and we're going to smooth it back out and darken it. I mean, not darken it, but get the wrinkles out. Grab that side there, Savannah. All right, and you see that's the inside of it, and it definitely yellowed up nice, and that's what we wanted. It's kind of hard. I know that we're running low on light, and that's why I want to go ahead and get it out. It's been in there for about an hour and 50 minutes. And I wanted it in there for at least 2 hours, so 10 minutes ain't going to hurt, you know. And then we got the back side, and what we'll do is we'll smooth her out, and we'll come brush her out a little bit, and Savannah, we'll have her on the bed, right?
Yep.
You can put it on your bed?
Yep.
Or you can hang on the wall?
Probably on bed.
Lay on the bed. That's pretty cool. That's the trophy. That's your first deer, huh?
Yep.
Good job.